Check 1, 2, check. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A little bit later on in the program, during the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program, we'll be talking with, how appropriate, Linda Teeter from Steuben Senior Services Fund. So that's coming up a little bit later on. Obviously, the big news of the day, the Iranian president, the butcher of Tehran, has been killed in a helicopter crash. Iran's hardliner, President Ibrahim Raisi, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, was killed after a helicopter carrying the butcher of Tehran crashed in a remote region of the country, is what is being reported by state media. Raisi, 63, his foreign minister, and other passengers were found dead after the rescuers discovered the helicopter crash site early this morning. All passengers of the helicopter carrying the Iranian president and foreign minister were martyred, said the state news agency. As of right now, the top negotiator, Ali Bagheri Kani, is acting as foreign minister. He has led Iranian delegations through indirect negotiations with the United States over missile issues, nuclear issues, and prisoner exchanges, has been appointed acting foreign minister after the death of Hosseini Amir Abdullah. All right, so that's where we're at now. The Iran Supreme Leader, Ayatollah al-Khamenei, announced 5 days of public mourning after a helicopter crash killed the president. In a message carried by Iran's state news agency, it was said, quote, he is obliged to arrange with the heads of the legislative and judicial branches to elect a new president within a maximum of 50 days. So there you go. We'll talk a little bit more about that if you would like, but that is the breaking news story this morning. The butcher of Tehran dead in a helicopter crash. Now, there will not be, as we catch up on some things from over the weekend, there will not be a Triple Crown, but still going to be a very exciting race in the Belmont. The Belmont will be run at Saratoga this year, as Belmont Racetrack is under construction. According to local sources there, even without a Triple Crown, it is suggested it'll bring in $50 million. Hotel space is available each night. 180 bars and restaurants in Saratoga Springs alone. Over 100 more in Saratoga County. They have reservations. Shops are buying more products and staffing up. Now, Kentucky Derby winner Mystical Dan was unable to clinch the second leg of the Triple Crown on Saturday as Seize the Gray held off the pack and Mystical Dan to win. Despite that, they still expect a very good crowd at the Belmont, again being held this year in Saratoga. Did you have any luck? Did you win on Seize the Gray? I know we talked with Shades for the Derby, and we're going to talk to him again for the Belmont. So I forgot to email him and see who he liked, but we didn't really talk about it much on Friday, did we? Or at all. But it was a good race, a very good race. Okay. Now, I've talked about politicians that make you maybe think, boy, it's really important to know who you're voting for. Do you remember D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser when she went to Augusta for the Masters and said it was for some type of economic incentive, something to boost, I guess, tourism to Washington, D.C.? Well, she is now headed to Las Vegas for an economic mission. That's after enjoying the Masters golf tournament in Georgia on the taxpayer's dime. The mayor's website announced Friday that Bowser would attend the International Council of Shopping Centers in an effort to bring retailers to the nation's capital. Boy, how isn't it nice how that always works out, where it's at really, really nice places like Las Vegas? D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser jets off for Vegas weekend mission after the ritzy Masters trip on the taxpayer's dime, writes the New York Post. Oh, look at all these waves coming in. Thank you. This economic mission is coordinated by the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership, which has organized the district's presence at ICSC since 1999. Mayor Bowser and the partnership's presence at ICSC has resulted in major grocery stores and retail anchors opening new stores in Washington. I'm not going to go through the ones that they name, but we know that Washingtonians in every part of D.C. want access to fantastic amenities. Though programs like the Food Access Fund and the Neighborhood Prosperity Fund, we have made great progress in filling amenity gaps, but there is still more to do to ensure greater accessibility and equity. And filling those gaps and supporting the continued transformation of downtown will be a focus of the trip. Now, again, this coming off of her trip to the Masters golf course, which is put down as sports and economic development visit. As some people point out, more retailers, so there could be more shoplifting, as they have a serious problem in D.C. like we do in New York. These politicians are stealing our money and going on vacation, then trying to tell us it's for climate while they're jumping on planes flying everywhere, said one resident. So there's one example. And I do not mean to make that a part of the show every morning, but whatever you think, just happens to be in Las Vegas. I know we're going through a lot of things. We're going to talk about the Trump trial, which continues again today after the hiatus for Barron Trump's graduation. Michael Cohen expected to return to the stand, so we'll talk about that. Also, maybe if we have an opportunity, I've got a couple things here about Bob Menendez, Gold Bar Menendez. We also have a little bit here about protests. Joe Biden, the president of the United States, attending Morehouse, giving that speech. Some graduates turning their backs. We're going to talk about a little bit of what he had to say. There's some really interesting opinion pieces on it as well. Before we talk about that, did you see, I'm not sure if we brought this up or not, but former Facebook and Nike DEI manager, there's been a lot of talks of DEI, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for a fraud scheme. Barbara Furlow Smiles, who's 38, admitted to stealing millions from Facebook and Nike in kickback schemes. A former diversity program manager for Facebook and Nike who admitted to stealing $5 million through kickback schemes she orchestrated at the companies is headed to federal prison for her crimes. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Georgia announced this week that Barbara Furlow Smiles was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months behind bars for her fraud scheme in order to pay restitution for almost $5 million to Meta, meaning Facebook, and $121,000 to Nike. Furlow Smiles shamelessly violated her position of trust as a DEI executive at Facebook to steal millions from the company, utilizing a scheme involving fraudulent vendors, fake invoices, and cash kickbacks, said U.S. Attorney Ryan Buchanan. After being terminated from Facebook, she brazenly continued the fraud as a DEI leader at Nike, where she stole another six-figure sum from their diversity program. Her prison sentence reflects the consequences of her decision to orchestrate an intricate scheme to defraud two of her employers for personal profits. Furl Smiles led diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what DEI is at Facebook from 2017 to 2021. Wow, 2017. I didn't know they had DEI programs going back that long. Prosecutors say she committed the fraud by linking PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App accounts to credit cards given to her by Facebook and used those accounts to pay friends, relatives, former interns at a prior job, nannies, babysitters, a hairstylist, and others for goods and services that were never provided to the company. Special Agent Carrie Farley from the FBI said, as lead strategist at Facebook, Furl Smiles' employer put an extreme amount of trust in her, only to have that trust completely violated. As a result, she not only threw away a lucrative career, but will serve time behind bars for her excessive greed. So there's a couple of quick updates as we talk quite frequently about DEI programs. Look at all the waves coming in. Thank you so much. As always, if you're new to the program, you can comment on any of the topics of the day. There's a number on the bottom of your screen, 607-358-3131. We're going to talk a little bit, man, this Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene. Representative Jasmine Crockett, AOC. We talked on Friday about what was described as chaos in that hearing, where Marjorie Taylor Greene brought up Representative Crockett's alleged fake eyelashes. And then Representative Crockett really went all in after Marjorie Taylor Greene. AOC got in the mix, and it turned into all I could think of is, an awkward exchange at the lunchroom table in junior high or high school is really what it felt like. Well, Representative Crockett is not letting it go. Now, like I said, I don't think it was necessarily right what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. It was kind of awkward. It was almost like when someone's losing a debate and you just go to name calling. It was bad, but it wasn't when Representative Crockett came back with what she said. That was like someone dropped the bomb. Well, she's back at it again. She said that Marjorie Taylor Greene's statements were racist and calls on Mike Johnson to rein her in. MAGA has historically been on social media doing the things where they're saying, oh, she's black with lashes and nails and hair, and so she's ghetto, the Democrat told State of the Union. So to me, this was her bullying into that rhetoric and trying to amplify this for the MAGA crowd. And so, yeah, I absolutely think that she only did it to be racist towards me. So there was a shouting match. During the mayhem, Crockett pressed for Greene's words to be cut from the record, but James Comer declined. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleached blonde, bad-built, butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct? Crockett hissed. So that's the statement that Crockett made in response to being called for, again, allegedly fake eyelashes. The Democrat has since moved to cash in on the dust-up by selling shirts and the like. I think her specifically doing it to me, the lawmaker clarified Sunday when pressed about why she felt Greene's jab was racist. Women wear makeup. We wear lashes. We wear all types of things to beautify ourselves. Now, Crockett is a first-time congresswoman, further contended that Speaker Mike Johnson should be inclined to rein her in, especially after she conspired to oust him. They just let Marjorie do whatever she wants to do, and I think this was the first time that someone actually said, no, you won't just treat me whatever way you want to and get away with it. Now, she was also upset that Marjorie Taylor Greene did not get any type of punishment. The problem with MAGA is that MAGA does not respect rules, nor do they respect the law. That is exactly why they're all running up to Trump's trial. He's in trouble, not because of some big conspiracy by the Biden administration. He's in trouble because he fails to respect the law. The party of law and order is gone at this point. She also gave some advice to President Biden amid signs that his polling is hemorrhaging support from black voters. I think it's about whether or not people understand what he has done for them. It's tough to kind of connect the dots sometimes. They have done so much, but I don't think that the information has been pushed out continually. No, not pushed out. Well, I say, hey, keep campaigning on Bidenomics. You're right. He should talk more about Bidenomics. I wouldn't disagree with that. But it's all MAGA, and what Marjorie Taylor Greene said was racist. Now, we've got a lot of other things to get to. That was just an update from a discussion that we had on Friday. Where do you stand on that dust up? I don't think it was a very good look for anyone involved, if I'm being honest. And I don't really think it helps Marjorie Taylor Greene make what I think is a valuable point. But what's done is done, right? As I mentioned, coming up a little bit later on, we're going to be talking with Linda Teeter from Steuben Senior Services Fund. We're just getting started, and look how much we've covered already. Again, the big news of the day. Iranian president, the Butcher of Tehran, was killed in a helicopter crash in a remote region. We may talk a little bit more about that. Not a lot to report. Somewhat breaking news still. The bodies were discovered early this morning. So we can talk about that if you'd like. We've got a few things here about protests, a few things here about Michael Cohen and the trial today, all that and much more. So stay with us. It's time to take our first break here on Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Was your baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
It's a season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking, live, 2 hours long, starting at 6 a.m. on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is... Yes, we are now 2 hours long. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you joined us. Just as a side note, we've talked about public safety in New York in general, and we've talked about the need all over our area and throughout the whole state for police officers, corrections officers. Listen to this coming from the New York Post. The number of New York Police Department cops, so NYPD, out of the city, this year and last is the lowest it's been in more than 3 decades, with about 200 cops leaving each month. The current NYPD headcount is 33,695, just 150 more than last year, and the lowest since 1990. And the problem is only getting worse as retirements this year have surged 11%. A total of 566 police officers have hung up their holster through April, compared to 508 over the first 4 months of last year. A total of 823 NYPD cops have left the department so far this year. Of those, 257 cops quit before they reached the 20 years required to receive their full pension. On Thursday alone, 27 cops resigned. Most are going to the higher-paying Nassau Police Department, police sources said. The NYPD's largest police union warned something has got to give. New York City police officers' workload has exploded over the past several months, and the staffing is still nowhere close to keeping up, said Police Benevolent Association President Patrick Hedry. For the daily protest details to additional patrols in the subway, our members are beyond exhausted already. In summertime, crime spikes are just around the corner. Squeezing cops for even more overtime hours is not a solution. It will just send even more of them running for the exits. Whew. Just something to keep in mind. We received this comment during break. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. I missed a couple days last week and was catching up over the weekend, and I have to say that it's really pitiful that Congress is looking more like a Jerry Springer episode than a body that makes important decisions and laws to execute them. At a time we have so many major issues going on, it's sad that, in my opinion, we have lost basic dignity and we're becoming a truly classless society. Is it any wonder why we are in trouble? It's clear to anyone who wants to see. Yeah, I mean, there is, and I know others have made that comment, that it was reminiscent of the Jerry Springer episode when you had Marjorie Taylor Greene, Representative Crockett, AOC, and that kind of petty squabble back and forth. Now, I would say, for whatever is being said, yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene did start it, but Representative Crockett really went all in with her comments, didn't she? She went pretty rough. She definitely gave a little bit more than she received. Now, also, when you talk about the classless society, and we look at some of the classlessness of the protests, I see Jerry Seinfeld again was protested during one of his stand-ups. We see more encampments. Now, some of it's dying down because of graduation. This is a positive side of the protest. Graduates at Boston University responded to several of their peers disrupting the commencement ceremony by showing their patriotic side. While anti-Israel students were disrupting the graduation ceremony, their peers started chanting USA. Now, that's a great way to respond to that. I just think it's very unfortunate. And again, it was like that piece we had last week from the New York Post, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it was such a great point of really these administrators giving in to these protesters show the more obnoxious you are, the better chance you have at winning your argument in academia today. So these students, because this is a very narcissistic protest, they realize that if they disrupt graduation for everybody else has to listen to their screaming of anti-Semitic hatred. You have to listen. And they know that that's the best outlet to do it at graduation, because not only is it all your peers and you can show you're the most full of hate, but you also show family and loved ones the same thing. So you will get the most attention from your peers and their families. So and I don't think any of us are really surprised that this is happening. Last week we brought to you this story, or maybe the week before, where Columbia, the one student, having to outdo the other protesters, ripped up her diploma. Went on stage, got her diploma, and ripped it up. Now, again, I know I've said this numerous times on the show. I would love to know if she reordered a new diploma or if she was really that serious. But out of Boston, chants of USA, and this has been happening, and it is I guess if you can find a silver lining in all of this, there's been a few. One, it's opened the eyes of a lot of people to how bad the indoctrination and how hateful the indoctrination has become on college campuses. So that's one silver lining. The other is this streak of patriotism. We saw the frat boys saving that American flag, and because of it, what was a Kickstarter, one of those ways you can donate online, GoFundMe, whatever it was. I don't know what it ended up at, but it was over $500,000 at one point for them to have the biggest party ever. Well, this out of Boston, chants of USA. The crowd chants USA as anti-Israel Boston University students walk out during their graduation. More than 50 students were reported to have been among the crowd of graduates who had walked out of the commencement ceremony. Protesters could be heard chanting, "Disclose, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest," as they could be seen walking around in a picket line. Students at several universities and colleges across the nation have protested pro-Israel commencement speakers in graduation ceremonies as a whole in protest of the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas, and have called upon the universities to divest from Israel's companies. We talked about Duke University having Jerry Seinfeld heckled, but that happened at one of his shows the other night as well. I'm not going to go through the whole history of it. We've talked about it extensively. But now pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel protesters have set up a new encampment at Drexel University over the weekend, Drexel in Philadelphia, prompting a lockdown of school buildings the day after authorities thwarted an attempt to occupy a school building at the neighboring University of Pennsylvania campus. Up to 60 protesters were at the encampment on the campus Corman Quad Sunday. Drexel President John Fry said in a statement, adding that the university was speaking with demonstrators, most of whom he said were not affiliated with the school, in an effort to end the protest. So this is when the negotiation starts. Instead of just cracking down and saying you're breaking the law, they negotiate. In many instances, unfortunately, these administrators have caved to the demands. So as we said earlier, being obnoxious, being full of hate, the administration does not want to lose their cash cows, however, do not care about the safety of Jewish students, so they cave into these list of demands. The encampment at Drexel, which has about 22,000 students, was set up after several hundred demonstrators marched from Philadelphia City Hall to West Philadelphia on Saturday. No arrests were reported. Again, Drexel President John Fry said this demonstration already has proven intolerably disruptive to normal university operations and has raised serious concerns about the conduct of some participants, including distressing reports and images of protesters subjecting passerbyers to anti-Semitic speech, signs, and chants. This encampment must end. He said the school was communicating with local officials and Philadelphia police to ensure campus safety and the continued operation of our academic and research endeavors. We've got a few things. I don't know if you saw the president's speech over the weekend at Morehouse. We're going to talk a little bit about that. There was some protests involved there. Elise Stefanik, who is, last that we knew, on the short list of VPs, she spoke in Israel. We're going to talk about that and how the White House responded. What do you think about the VP race? It's kind of interesting. I heard from some people, one person earlier saying that they're not as big a fan of Tim Scott. I like Tim Scott. I understand the concerns. There's other. Doug Burgum is one that's kind of out of left field for me, not really expecting that, but his name is being thrown around. There's actually a lengthy piece, I think it was at the New York Times or was it the Washington Post, about Burgum today, and it was linked on Drudge. I've got to say, and hear me out on this, and this isn't to knock him because I really don't know a lot about him. I'm concerned when I see so many in the media seem to be receptive of him being VP, or at least pushing him, giving you more information, almost saying, I mean, the one piece, and I know it was from a Republican commentator at CNN, so whatever that means, saying that this would be the best pick. That concerns me, and that's not fair to him because I don't know enough about him. But it's like Nikki Haley when they all told us that she was the only way we could win, same as they did with Jeb Bush. Those type of things sent up red flags for me. So what are your thoughts on Doug Burgum? What are your thoughts on the VP race in general? Who do you like? We'll probably see some more of the potential VP candidates at the trial today as it starts back up. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on as well. But I am running very, very late, so stay with us. Keep those comments coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Attention. This is an important message for firefighters, members of the military, and airport workers. For decades, first responders and firefighters at military bases and airports used a chemical-based foam to fight fires. Studies have shown that chemicals used to make aqueous film-forming foam, or AFFF, are highly toxic to humans and have been associated with several types of cancer. If you or someone you know was diagnosed with any of those cancers, call now for a free case review.
Summer's here, and with a new Toyota, you can capture all the moments that make summer, summer. Like driving a RAV4 to wade in a waterfall.
Nice.
Cruising to play mini golf in a Camry. Or taking a Tundra to the beach.
You're not going to leave me here, are you? Get a new Tundra or Tundra iForce Max with 1.99% APR for 48 months plus $1,000 TFS subvention APR cash. Or lease a new 2024 Tundra for just $499 a month.
Your summer starts here.
Toyota, let's go places.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less.
With no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel. With Japanese grade steel blades, plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groove. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder Boss now.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big
Our beautiful view of historic Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. That's a view from our roof. So welcome back to Frankly Speaking. A couple comments from viewers. Frank is a horse racing fan. It's nice to hear of your interest in horse racing. Well, thank you. Yeah, I've always loved horse racing. I grew up watching horse racing. Also, during COVID, when it was really the only live sporting event, and I don't know if it was relatively new at that point, but the betting apps, oh boy, that was a lot of fun. But yes, I love Triple Crown, some of my favorite part of the year. Seize the Gray is a great example of having a chance to be involved as an ownership partner of a racehorse. He is owned by a group called My Racehorse, where any race fan can buy inexpensive shares and be part of a sport that is usually only available to the wealthy. As Seize the Gray was purchased for $300,000 at auction and is broken down into affordable micro shares. Although Seize the Gray isn't a horse that I'm a partner with, I am a partner with Authentic. I remember Authentic, the winner of the 2020 Kentucky Derby and 2020 Breeders' Cup. I have others beside Authentic, but none that are newsworthy. So join the party and we'll hang out at the track. I'd love to hang out at the track, and I would be interested in that. I did not realize that about Seize the Gray. I've heard about those opportunities. That's a great idea. I'd love to find out more about that. So thank you. It would be kind of neat to say that you're an owner of a racehorse. Makes you sound pretty important. Another comment. I'm no expert on false eyelashes, have never worn them, but I dare say that plenty of white women wear them, so why is this being called out for racism? I think not. This is getting really old and obnoxious. Yeah, that's what was interesting about Representative Crockett, because even with the insult that she hurled back at Marjorie Taylor Greene, it does seem like Marjorie Taylor Greene was not in the right. I'm going to put that aside. Let me do the disclaimer. But at the same time, I think Representative Crockett took it that much further, right, with her comments. So either way, it's to the point earlier on in the show. This should not be something that we need to talk about. That is really taking the media and putting a spotlight on Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of the dysfunction, if you will, in the Republican Party. Also, and I've mentioned this a few times. If you're not aware, the Iranian president, Ibrahim Raisi, the butcher of Tehran, was killed in a helicopter crash in the remote region yesterday. They found the bodies early this morning. Now, Elise Stefanik, who, again, on the short list for VP, she gave a speech to the Israeli parliament in which she criticized President Joe Biden for stopping a shipment of weapons to Israel. White House spokesperson Andrew Bates issued a statement in response to Stefanik's speech, pointing out that Biden had been the first American president to go to Israel during wartime, that there has been no better friend to Israel than Biden has been. Now, do you agree with that? That's the White House's statement to Elise Stefanik's speech to the Israeli parliament. So there's been no better friend to Israel than Biden. Does Israel believe that? I mean, as he withholds munition during a war with a terrorist organization. He was the first American president to visit Israel during wartime in the aftermath of the horrific October 7th terrorist attack, and the first president to order the U.S. military to defend Israel from a foreign nation's attack. Now, Stefanik's speech comes weeks after the Biden administration halted a shipment of ammunition to Israel, and after Biden stated during an interview with CNN that he would withhold artillery and other weapons to Israel if they moved forward with an invasion of Rafah. And did you see during his speech to Morehouse, he agreed with a permanent ceasefire? You know, a permanent ceasefire like the one that was in effect on October 6th. So frustrating that, again, the media and those that are protesting want to ignore the horrific terrorist attack of October 7th. They want you to completely ignore that and put all the blame on Israel. This is what at least Stefanik said. As long as I serve the American people, I will defend George Washington's vision of religious pluralism and freedom. Today, this means crushing anti-Semitism at home and supplying the state of Israel with what it needs when it needs it without condition to achieve total victory in the face of evil. Chants of death to America are not hollow slogans. They are a promise that was they are a promise that what happened here on October 7th could happen in the United States unless Hamas and its jihadist accomplices are eliminated. And it is the United States' high honor and high responsibility to support Israel's efforts. I have been clear at home, and I will be clear here. There's no excuse for an American president to block aid to Israel, aid that was duly passed by the Congress. There's no excuse to ease sanctions on Iran, paying a $6 billion ransom to the world's leading state sponsor of terror, or to dither and hide while our friends fight for their lives. No excuse, full stop. I'm not crazy about that term, but full stop. But very good speech otherwise. Stefanik continued to point out that she had sponsored and supported every measure to aid Israel that has come before the United States Congress. And it's why for years I've been a leading proponent and partner to President Trump in his historic support for Israeli independence and security, including moving the U.S. Embassy to its rightful place in Jerusalem. John Fetterman, the Democrat senator out of Pennsylvania, you've got to give him credit. He's been very strong in his support of Israel. He was being interviewed on CNN's State of the Union with Jake Tapper. And Tapper said, "You've become famous or infamous, depending on your point of view, for your stalwart support of Israel since the October 7th attacks. Especially that before then as well, Israel recovered the body of yet another hostage yesterday. That's 4 hostage bodies recovered this week. The U.S. is assessing that Israel has amassed enough troops to launch a full-scale ground operation in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Despite President Biden's warning that Netanyahu and Israel doing that would cross a red line. You've said you defer to what Israel thinks is best. So do you think Joe Biden is wrong for trying to stop a major Rafah invasion?" That's a lengthy question, isn't it? Fetterman said, "Yeah, I think it'd be unfortunate if it's being infamous to be supporting Israel. And I've been very supportive about Israel from the beginning of all that. I think it's important that America stands with our very, very critical ally as well too. I'd like to point out that Hamas is what started this, and Hamas could surrender and send every one of the hostages back, and it could all end right now. Yes, this is the responsibility is on Hamas." Well, I'm running late again. So they could end it all right now. In fact, they rejected the recent ceasefire deal that would have had 6 weeks there of peace and allowed everybody to be fed and to continue to move towards peace. But now Hamas is convinced that they don't have to. Yeah, why would they think that they have to? They see the weakening by Israel's ally, America. They see the win as anti-Semitic protests are going on at college campuses. But I'll continue. They don't need to take any kind of deal except, if anything, on their own terms. I don't think all of that, all the capitulated and all those kind of things aren't helpful. And I don't think that they're going to convince anyone that is now think that they're not committed to stand with trying to have both sides on this. So I know that's a little bit weird how that's written up. But basically he's saying the Biden administration can't have both sides on this. So Tapper said, "The reason I said infamous is because there are a lot of progressives, a lot of people in your party who are mad at you for your strong support of Israel and for your continued condemnation of Hamas. Why do you think that is?" Yeah, why would a party, I want you to think about that for a moment. Why would a party be so upset at one of their fellow party members for being anti-Hamas, for being so strong against a terrorist organization, Hamas? But Fetterman said, "I can understand why being a very strong supporter of Israel anybody would be upset with that. If somebody is very much supporting the pro-Palestinian view, that's fine. It's reasonable. But I just decided to be on the side for Israel on that. All right? All right. Let's take another break. Keep those comments coming in. Man, boy, we've covered a lot this morning. We're just getting started. We're going to be talking with Linda Teeter in just a little bit, and that'll be in the 7 o'clock hour. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
Attention. If you were a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
Massey's Gardens and Landscaping will help you grow a green thumb.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
Order call 1-800-970-9843. That's 1-800-970-9843, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my number one goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Before we get into Biden's visit to Atlanta and the Morehouse, did you see in Oakland? I just bring up some of these things because it seems like when there's a really bad idea, we like to copy it in New York. And in Oakland, they're having a serious homelessness problem, just like we are in New York State. A California city removed the traffic lights from a 4-way intersection as the city grapples with thefts attributed to a massive homeless encampment nearby. Oakland has been experiencing high crime and theft, including people stealing copper wires and the city's infrastructure, according to locals who spoke to CBS News. The city attempted to thwart criminals tampering with its electrical boxes by placing cement barriers over them to no avail. Now the city has taken to removing the traffic lights altogether at a busy intersection and replacing them with stop signs. Tam Lee, owner of Lee's Auto Body and Engine Repair, said it's just telling us that the city is giving up on us. If you really want to fix the stop sign, I think you really have to clean up this homeless encampment. Okay. Talk about giving in. Just that caught my attention this morning. Okay, so Biden was getting mocked over the weekend because nobody showed up to support him in a Democrat city to see the motorcade. Critics on social media dragged, as it says here, President Biden over video footage showing what appears to be a small showing of supporters greeting the president's motorcade in the deep blue city of Atlanta. RNC Research, the Republican National Committee research, said if a presidential motorcade passes through town but absolutely nobody cares, did it really pass through town? Footage showing the apparent lack of fanfare over Biden's motorcade sparked criticism on social media. Videos circulating online only show short clips of city sidewalks as the president drives by. Biden arrived in Georgia to participate in a campaign event, and his motorcade drove through deep blue Atlanta, and nobody cared. These are some of the mocking tweets. Man, can Biden draw a crowd? The only people there are waiting to cross the street. Massive crowd of almost 4 people line the streets as Biden motorcade passes through in Atlanta. Then you talk about his visit to Morehouse, and they interviewed some students at Morehouse. We're going to talk about this more in depth, but one student saying the general feeling on the ground is that we don't want him here. It's very obvious that were being used to score political points and get more black votes. It's so obvious that it's just about the presidential campaign. We don't want Biden, we don't want politics, and we definitely don't want Biden to come speak politics. There are a lot more other prominent figures right now that can come to our college and universities and speak to us as Morehouse men. Another student saying, I definitely understand from a political aspect why he is coming, but from a human and moral level, it makes no sense for the college to invite him or give him an honorary degree. Yes, not necessarily, well, sounding there, the students suggesting that it's more kind of pandering. Several Morehouse College students turned their backs on Biden during the commencement address. That was a somewhat big story this weekend. Not all outlets reporting on it. He told graduates, I support peaceful, nonviolent protests. I love that we now have to have that disclaimer every time we talk about the anti-Israel protest. Your voices should be heard. I promise you, I hear them, he said. One student saying about the speech, it's just a way to get the black vote and the young people and to help his election. Now, Biden did, during the speech, did say it's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's why I've called for an immediate ceasefire. I know it angers and frustrates many of you, including in my family. Wow. You know, like one of those permanent ceasefires that happened on October 6th. Again, this is always puts the blame and the onus on Israel and nothing on Hamas. So why would, I can't remember who had the piece, but we brought it up a couple weeks ago where you don't put out 80% of a fire. You put out 100% of the fire. And that's what Israel's attempting to do. And we're just weakening on our position every chance we get, not sending them munitions. But to call for an immediate ceasefire, Hamas could start that ceasefire today, right this second. But they choose not to, especially as they see Israel's biggest ally weakening and caving. They see the student protesters and the anti-Semitism and really pro-Hamas chants. Why would they? Why would they call for a ceasefire? Why would they agree to a ceasefire when they see an opportunity to win? Just before Biden's address, Morehouse valedictorian D'Angelo Fletcher, wearing a Palestinian flag pin, called for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, prompting a standing ovation. So that is, and I don't know what the students of Morehouse, what political affiliation they are, but that is what is happening on college campuses. That the anti-Israel sentiment, and it should come as no surprise, these kids have been indoctrinated since well before college. And we're just seeing how bad that indoctrination is. So again, never calling out Hamas for what they did, always turning on Israel. It's unfortunately a story that's as old as, well, I'm not going to say it's time, but for a very, very long time. Biden, who had previously told Benjamin Netanyahu that an immediate ceasefire is essential to protect innocent civilians, joined in the standing ovation. What's happening in Gaza and Israel is heartbreaking, he said. Innocent Palestinians caught in the middle of all this, men, women, and children killed or displaced. It's a humanitarian crisis. That's why I called for an immediate ceasefire to stop the fighting, bring the hostages home, and I've been working on a deal as we speak. Well, again, this is 100% on Hamas. Now, a recent survey conducted by Pew Research Center found that only a slim majority, 55% of black voters, approve of the president's job performance. In 2020, 95% of black women and 87% of black men voted for Biden. So we know why Biden went to speak at Morehouse. In a bid to try and win back some support, Biden used his commencement address to tout his advocacy for black Americans, such as his recent push for $16 billion in fresh funding for historically black colleges and universities. At one point, he invoked George Floyd, who was murdered in Minneapolis by a white police officer in May of 2020, setting off fiery protests across the country. The president then told the graduating students that American democracy has failed the black community. What is democracy if black men are being killed in the street? What is democracy when a trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind? Most of all, what does it mean, as you've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure? He then vowed to call out the poison of white supremacy and root out systemic racism. So this, of course, receiving some backlash. We're going to talk about that when we come back. I realize I'm running a little bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's hot tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
I'm Marianne Burke. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's.
And we are back. It is 6:48 on this Monday morning, broadcasting live from Hesselsen's studio. So again, President Biden, speaking of Morehouse, said, "What is democracy if black men are being killed in the street? What is democracy when a trail of broken promises still leaves black communities behind? Most of all, what does it mean, as you've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?" Now, as one critic fumed, Joe Biden just told graduates at Morehouse College in Georgia that America hates them because they're black. This divisive rhetoric is exactly why Biden is losing support of the black community. Translation: if you're black and live in America, you're a victim. Good luck, Morehouse graduates. Well, there you are. Not really a surprise. It seems as if many students saw this for what it is. Just a political statement looking to get his poll numbers to look better with black support. Now, Fox News put together the top moments from his commencement address. He made racial accusations. Speaking at Morehouse, a historically black college, Biden used the opportunity to address black voters in particular. He said students there have to be 10 times better than anybody else just to get a fair shot. And the Republicans are not accepting of black people. They don't see you in the future of America, but they're wrong. How inappropriate. Number one, this is a commencement speech, and he turned it into a political stump speech. And how dare he say that Republicans don't see those Morehouse students as being a part of the future of America. He also called for, as I mentioned earlier, the immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. You know, like the immediate and permanent ceasefire that was in effect on October 6th, like that. The moment was the first clue to the contents of Biden's address, as he would later go on to unequivocally call for Israel to impose an immediate ceasefire. He also endorsed a two-state solution as the only solution. Biden took a swipe at Georgia's election laws at one point in his speech, reviving a misleading claim that voters are banned from receiving food and water while in line at polling places. Today in Georgia, they won't allow water to be available for you while you wait in line to vote in the election. What in the heck is that all about? The line was in reference to a Georgia law prohibiting poll workers and others from actively distributing water or food to voters within 150 feet of a polling place. The law allows poll workers to provide self-service water from an unattended receptacle within 150 feet of a polling place, however. The law has been the focus of years of Democrat criticism against a recent Republican-led overhaul of Georgia's election laws. Next up, as I mentioned, a smattering of Morehouse students and faculty protested Biden's speech by turning their back on him for the duration of the speech. Yes, not just students, folks, faculty. And now you can't say these people are not students, as so many other institutions have tried to claim. The protests were not widespread, however, and those participating did not disrupt his address beyond showing their backs. The small protest was a reminder of the continued unrest at college campuses across the country. where anti-Israel protests have forced some universities to cancel their commencement ceremonies altogether. Prior to Biden's address, some students had urged the college to rescind his invitation. A group of hundreds of alumni also wrote a letter to the college saying Biden should not be the commencement speaker. Quote, I think it's kind of insulting that our star alumni is Dr. King, but Biden has been a tirade in the Middle East. Bringing them here, especially during an election year, to get the young black vote especially, it's kind of insulting. So that's a quick look. We're going to tell you a little bit more about what the president had to say. I've got to take another short break. We're not going to focus on just that, but there's some other polling numbers that we want to get to. Boy, we are running fast this morning. We're covering a lot, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
When accidents happen, you want your repair done right. Bring it to Nappy's, or if undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations. Voted #1 auto body repair shop 17 times in the Twin Tiers.
Thank you for your business.
Insist on Nappy's Auto Body Done Right.
Your Pioneers are back for another great season of baseball. Home opening game is Friday, May 31st at 6:30. Hilliard Corporation and Southern Tier Custom Fabricators present Fireworks Night, Friday, May 31st. Get your tickets early. Call 607-734-2690. Elmira Pioneers, a baseball tradition since 1888. Fireworks, fireworks, fireworks!
Live this Monday. Celebrate today's hottest music. Thank you, iHeart. It's the iHeartRadio Music Awards. Don't miss a musical tribute to Icon Award recipient Cher. Plus, ludicrous hosts with epic performances by Justin Timberlake, Green Day, TLC, Jelly Roll, Lainey Wilson, Tate McRae, and more.
Come up here and get your iHeartRadio Music Award
tonight. And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Our first hour, almost 3, but don't worry, we've got a whole another hour coming up at 7 o'clock. So Biden tells black graduates that Republicans don't see you in the future of America, where he also slammed right-wing extremists. Now, let's talk about extremism. I think we're seeing that in the Democrat Party today with the pro-Hamas protests, but I'll continue. The president didn't use Trump or the GOP's name as he addressed graduating seniors, but it was clear who he was talking about as he brought up January 6th amid their commencement ceremony. Yeah, you're going to see a lot more of this. This was very typical of what a campaign speech is looking like from Biden. Insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol with a Confederate flag are called patriots by some. Not in my house. Trump often refers to his supporters who ransacked the Capitol building by that term, according to the media. Black police officers, black veterans protecting the Capitol were called another word, as you recall. The president added that extremists close the doors of opportunity, strike down affirmative action, attack the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They don't see you in the future of America, but they're wrong. We know black history is American history. We know black men are going to lead us into the future. I never thought I would be president at a time when there's a national effort to ban books, not to write history, but to erase history, he said. This president's speech wavered between the political and the personal as he talked about the Saturdays in the Christian faith when Jesus' disciples had given up hope a day before Christ's resurrection. Biden talked of his own Saturdays, the loss of his first wife and baby daughter, and later his adult son, Beau. He required that into current events, or he segued that into current events, there are tests of faith, the assault on democracy and war in Gaza. Ahead of Biden's remarks, valedictorian D'Angelo Jeremiah Fletcher talked about the war in Gaza. From the first time in our lives, we've heard the global community sing one harmonious song that transcends language and culture. It is my stance as a Morehouse man, nay, as a human being, to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Biden clapped for that as well. Again, why ignore the fact that there was a permanent ceasefire on October 6th? Of course, this is always to put the blame on Israel. So you get the idea. We're not going to talk much more about this. pretty much the kind of speech that we expected from the president. The attacks on Republicans, the attack on quote unquote right-wing extremists. Also applauding and calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Biden confused applauds as the speaker calls for immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. He then later in his speech said the Israel-Gaza conflict has plagued the people of its region for generations. It's important to recognize that both sides have suffered heavy casualties in the wake of October 7th. All right, so you get it. There's one other thing we're going to talk about this when we come back. I can't believe the first hour is done all right. Boy, we've covered a lot. I gotta say, I'm happy with the way this show is going so far, and I hope that you'll stay with us through the second hour. As I had mentioned earlier, Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program today. We'll talk with Linda Teeter from Steuben Senior Services Fund, so that'll be fun. That's coming up in the next hour, probably right around 7:20, so you want to stay tuned for that. Also, there's quite a few things here about Trump and his trial. Did you see the Pope over the weekend saying that conservative critics have a suicidal attitude? If you're Catholic, I'd like to know what you think of that. Also, we have something here from Congressman Nick Langworthy, if we have an opportunity, but also the breaking story overnight. Iranian president, the butcher of Tehran, was killed in a helicopter crash in a remote region. They found their bodies early this morning. All passengers of the helicopter carrying the Iranian president and foreign minister were martyred, is how the state media put it. Now, yes, conspiracy theories are starting, as you can imagine, but you can weigh in on that and any other issues of the day. Keep those waves coming in. Keep those comments coming in. We got to take a break, and then we'll be back with hour number 2. Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
My hair practice is focused and centered around St. James Hospital in Hornell. We see a lot of joint pain from hips, shoulders, and knees, whether you're a weekend warrior or even a 80 to 90-year-old who just wants to stay active and keep walking a couple blocks in their neighborhood. I want to spend the time to connect, to really hear you and understand why you've come to visit me to seek treatment. It drives me to be the best physician I can be so that you can go back and do the things that you want to do in life.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning on this beautiful Monday morning. Victor Davis Hanson has a piece at the New York Post. And if you're just joining us, we were talking about the president's speech at Morehouse. We've actually covered a lot already this morning. So feel free at any time to comment on the issues of the day. What did you think of that speech at Morehouse and the call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, saying Republicans don't believe black men have a place in America? Really, well, pretty hateful speech. President Biden polls at or below 40% approval. Historically, such unpopularity has made it almost impossible for a president to be reelected. Biden is not so much an octogenarian as an unhealthy and prematurely aging 81-year-old. It is America's irony that he is fit for almost no other job in the country other than presidency. And that is an interesting point when you think about the ages of both Biden and Trump, and you think about the working world and how that really 81, you're not typically still working. So how does Biden become reelected? As polls show, he is behind in almost every critical swing state on nearly every issue. This coming from Victor Davis Hanson. Answer, not by campaigning, not by championing his record, and especially not by doubling down on his neo-socialist and now unpopular agenda. Instead, his campaign is focused on 4 other strategies to beat former President Donald Trump. So we're going to go through these. And this, again, from Victor Davis Hanson. And it is interesting. He can't run on Bidenomics. When he did, that backfired. Even his own party saying, please stop running on Bidenomics. Don't own this. And, you know, they keep telling us, oh, the economy's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. Even though we experience grocery shopping, we experience filling up our gas tank. But first, left-wing local, state, and federal prosecutors are tying Trump up in court on crimes that have never been seen before and will never be seen again after the election. I disagree with him there. I do believe we'll see this lawfare used in the future, especially if it is successful in their mind. So no, I don't think this is the last time this happens, unfortunately. They have set the troubling precedent. All the cases are politically motivated, with many coordinated with the White House. Even if Trump is not convicted by blue state prosecutors in blue state courtrooms in front of blue state juries, he will lose critical campaigning time. Trump may end up paying about $1 billion in legal fees and fines. At 76, the days in court are designed to destroy him financially, physically, and mentally. Biden and his operatives know that. In the long term, they may have fatally damaged the American legal system with such judicial sabotage. But in the short term, they hope to destroy Trump before the ballots are cast, just like they wanted to take him off the ballots. And remember, this is the party that lectures us about threats to democracy. But yeah, they don't care the long-term damage, fatally damage the American legal system. They don't care about that because it's all about winning right now. And they, according to the polls, doesn't look like they will. Second, Biden is selling government favors to special interest voting blocs or hoping to bring short-term relief to voters at the expense of long-term damage to the nation. For elite college students and graduates, there are now billions of dollars in student loan cancellations, despite a Supreme Court ruling declaring such targeted contractual amnesties are illegal. He did not care. He laughed and got really cocky, as a matter of fact, that Supreme Court can't stop me. Again, threat to democracy. For consumers, before the election, Biden will likely drain the last drops from the critical strategic petroleum reserve to lower gas prices, now sky high due to his disastrous green policies. If that is not enough, Biden has ordered Ukraine not to hit Russian oil facilities to avoid panic in the global petroleum markets before early and mail-in balloting begins. Biden will quietly jawbone the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates and reinflate the economy despite his own creation of hyperinflation that caused interest rates to rise in the first place. He will pander to Arab American voters in swing states like Michigan by cutting arms deliveries to Israel, even as it seeks to destroy the killers of October 7th. And if that mollification is not sufficient to win at Michigan, he will suddenly slap higher tariffs on imported Chinese electrical vehicles to win back union auto workers. 3, the left learned after 2016 that the only way to beat Trump is to change the way Americans vote. So under the cover of the COVID lockdown, the left sued in critical states to reduce Election Day to a mere construct, while 70% of voters mailed in their ballots or voted by early rolling balloting over many weeks. The key was the inability to fully authenticate votes, given the old practice of showing up on Election Day and presenting an ID was declared racist. 4, Biden, as he did in 2020, will outsource his campaign to the media, 95% of which is left-wing. Talking television heads will claim Biden is sharp as a knife while focusing on Trump's tweets, Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen, and lurid but irrelevant testimonies that permeate Trump's court appearances. Trump will continue to hold week-long, massive 100,000-person rallies, even in blue states. Meanwhile, Biden's fixers in the media, administrative state, and legal community will counter that even with no crowds and no campaigning, Biden can win through 24/7 nonstop October surprises all summer long. Yes, and one thing the media is going to do is, of course, build up Biden. We know that. And they will not cover the 100,000-person rallies of Trump. you can see the writing on the wall for this. We predicted this way in advance. So expect more false Russian collusion and laptop disinformation hoaxes, or their new replacements designed to smother the airwaves with salacious scandals nonstop. This is Victor Davis Hanson if you're just joining us. Biden's fading tenure is similar to the last sad months of Woodrow Wilson's second term, when in 1919 and 1920, the country was assured that a bedridden president was somehow hard at work, even as his wife, doctors, and handlers kept everyone else away. Biden's keepers do not seem to care about the president's own failing health or his dismal poll. They discount his rare, anemic, and disastrous public appearances. They laugh off the huge Trump rallies. Yep, they did that before. Back in 2016, they laughed them off. They actually would show them because they thought it was such a circus, that it was so funny. Look at this clown. Little did they know that the message was resonating, speaking to the American people. But I'll continue. And they certainly could care less about the bad optics of pandering to special interests at the expense of the country or the damage done to the American legal system and balloting system. Instead, Bidenites believe they can reelect an unhealthy, unpopular, and unsuccessful president by any means necessary. And the disturbing thing, they may be right, says Victor Davis Hanson. Do you believe? They're right, they may. I mean, you know the media's... listen, we had it last week. New York Times said they don't have to be fair. Donald Trump poses too much of a threat, so they don't have to be fair with their coverage. They have to stop the authoritarian Trump. Yeah, this is a good comment from a viewer. Please help me understand how Biden's hateful remarks are supposed to resonate with voters. Shades of the basket of deplorables comment that didn't work out for crooked Hillary. Yeah, I don't know how it works. Painting America as bad for the black community, painting America as bad in general, painting Republicans as, well, any name you can think of. Extremists, right-wing extremists. We see this attitude of what they think of the American people. And they don't trust the American people. That's one of the reasons why they're using lawfare to go after Trump, because they believe the American people are just so dumb that they might actually vote for Trump again. So they have to fix the system. They have to rig the system. Now, one of the issues that we know the president is going to run on heavily is abortion. Well, abortion is expected to be on the ballot in Arizona and Florida in November, but the issue is not shaping up to be the boost President Biden needs to win the two states. That's according to new polls. Voters in both states overwhelmingly support abortion access, but are still favoring former President Donald Trump over Biden, 52-47 in Arizona and 54-45 in Florida. In Florida, in April, the state Supreme Court upheld a 6-week abortion ban that went into effect earlier this month and greenlit a referendum to enshrine abortion access into the state's constitution. Unlike other states that necessitated a majority threshold on their abortion referendums, Florida requires 60% of voters to approve it. Despite once being the quintessential battleground state, Florida has lurched considerably red over recent years, and Republicans now tout a majority of registered voters there. Still, the Biden-Harris campaign has opened up an office there, and both Biden as well as Vice President Harris have ventured down to Florida in a bid to keep it in the realm of possibilities. All right. We got to take our first break. We got a couple comments coming in. Here's a comment. Since taking office, Biden has divided this nation. His presidency is a failure, and he is mocked even outside the United States. Oh, sure. I mean, think about our foreign policy. It's being laughed at. You're telling me, and that's one of the things that these kids are playing right in the hands of these dictators with the protests. Think of the difference, and then this is what they're talking about with this Trump nostalgia feeling. Remember what it felt like under the 4 years of peace and prosperity, and now look at what's happening, not just throughout the country, but throughout the world. He was supposed to be a unifier, and all he has done, as you see from that speech in Morehouse, is try to divide us even further. As the one viewer said, very reminiscent of basket of deplorables, like Hillary Clinton's comments back in 2016. They do not think very highly of you. Now, we've got to take our first break of this hour. We've got a couple of last little things here on Biden. We got a couple things on Trump. Right at 7:20-ish, we'll be talking with Linda Teeter from Steuben Senior Services Fund, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Vehicles are in-house and on display with more on the way. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, visit Elm Chevrolet. Search Elm Chevrolet's entire new vehicle inventory at elmchevrolet.com. Together, let's drive.
Massey's Gardens and Landscaping will help you grow a green thumb.
The bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with the no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
In a game of few words. Urkel, glasses. Nerd. It pays to know your nerds. If you guys didn't get nerd with me sitting up here on this show, 25 words or less.
Weeknights at 5.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We still have a lot to cover. The auto industry is warning that Biden's EV mandate may limit gas car options in the future. Now, over the weekend, the president was saying that I want to make it clear, notwithstanding what the other guy is saying, can buy any kind of car they want, but we're never going to allow China to unfairly control the market for these cars, period. As the other guy appeared to be a reference to Trump. You notice they will not mention his name. Now, the Jeff Moody, Vice President of American Fuel and Petrochemical Manufacturing, said the policy is going to both limit the availability of new gas cars and push the cost of remaining gasoline-powered vehicles out of reach for most Americans. The whole point of the rule is to push American drivers towards electric vehicles by limiting their other options. American Petroleum Institute executive Will Huppman echoed some of that sentiment, predicting that it would effectively eliminate most new gas-powered vehicles in the future. In April, Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas launched an effort to stymie the new restrictions via the Congressional Review Act, which allows Congress to make an expedited attempt to invalidate new agency rules. All right, that's just a quick update. You know what my prediction has been, and I'm probably going to end up being wrong, it looks like, but I did not think there would be a presidential debate. I've said it numerous times on this program, and I'm not going to believe it until I see it. There's many excuses that Biden could make. I could see it just being something as simple as, Trump tweeted something out yesterday that I found offensive. I don't want to give him a platform to spew his hate and his lies. You can see the writing on the wall there. Now, at the end of the day, it does show that Biden realizes, or at least his campaign realizes, that he is down in the polls, that he is losing. So it really does look, and I think it was Bill Maher who actually said it over the weekend, that it looks like an act of desperation from the Biden campaign to call for early debates and to call for the debates. You normally don't need to be in that position if you're the incumbent. But I'm still not convinced that he's going to do it. Senator Chris Van Hollen, who's been kind of a surrogate for Biden, said that former President Donald Trump behaves like a complete jerk who wants to create circus-like entertainment at these debates. Van Hollen, Senator Christopher Van Hollen, said, well, we know Donald Trump. You just mentioned, the drug testing. This is the guy who was the birther candidate. He is not focused on issues that, are important to the American people. He wants to create this sort of atmosphere of a circus-like entertainment. But the choice will be very clear. I mean, you've gotten Joe Biden. He's the guy who grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He fights for the middle class. He believes in the dignity of work and decency. Donald Trump, agent of chaos. Somebody who's running for revenge, and somebody who just said to a bunch of oil company executives the other day, give me $1 billion for my campaign, I'll give you everything you want. I do not have concerns. I mean, there were people who said they were concerned about the State of the Union address. He came out swinging. This is in reference to Biden's performance. You know, he delivered a very clear message to the American people. Look, it's not about the age of the candidate. It's about the ideas of the candidate, what they're going to do for the American people going forward. Donald Trump is all about revenge. He's all about the past. Joe Biden is about fighting for the American people and putting forward an agenda for the future. You know, when Donald Trump is being a complete jerk, then I can understand the president of the United States, you know, responding and letting him know that's what he thinks. So that's his surrogate. Not speaking very highly of the debate, and not really even speaking that highly of Biden, if you think about it. It's not about his age; it's about his ideas. But yeah, I don't think. Well, the media will obviously cover the debate. But as I've said, if he does debate, it will be considered the best performance of his life, no matter how poorly it goes. Could be even considered the best debate performance of all time. You can see how the media, in their bias, admitting that they no longer have to be fair. Not that they ever really were, but no longer having to be fair because Trump is that much of a threat. That's why you will not see the rallies being covered, especially, I mean, look in New Jersey. 100,000 people in blue state New Jersey show up to see the former president. And if you didn't watch Fox News, you would not have been aware of that rally, most likely. Or if you didn't, you know, if you're on social media and you support Trump or something like that, you would have saw it there. Now, Donald Trump gave his 9th NRA speech calling for great restoration of American freedom. Trump looked to the coming November presidential election and said, let there be no doubt the survival of our Second Amendment is very much on the ballot. It's under siege. We need the Second Amendment for safety. Forget about going hunting and all the things you do. We need it for safety because you know the bad guys are not giving up their guns. The bad ones are not giving up their guns. Trump explained that the Second Amendment needs not simply to survive, but to flourish. He said the amendment has to be meaningful or else innocents will be unable to defend their lives and the lives of those they love. If Biden gets 4 more years, they are coming for our guns. 100% certain. He then described Biden's political career as one marred by the desire to take away firearms and praised Republicans for standing against gun confiscation, saying, we're the party of common sense. Trump spoke of how federal agencies are weaponizing under the Biden administration and specifically noted how federal firearms license holders are seeing their licenses revoked for making an error in paperwork, even when the paperwork is not of crucial importance. He suggested the bottom line is that Biden and his fellow Democrats want to take away your rights. I know that better than anybody. They want to take away my rights better than anybody. Worse than Al Capone. He got indicted twice. I got indicted 4 times. That's where the NRA members erupted in applause and laughter. So he was endorsed by the National Rifle Association. Supporters gathered for Trump in the Bronx. Again, deep blue, New York State. Supporters of former President Trump gathered together in the Bronx on Saturday to show their support for the former president ahead of his upcoming visit. Where was he? It was at an event at Crotona Park in South Bronx. In one video posted to X, Trump supporters could be seen walking through the streets holding a banner with the words, "The South Bronx for Donald Trump," as people chanted Trump. Other signs had Black Lives MAGA, Black Patriots for Trump. What are some of the others? In another video, people from the group of Black Patriots for Trump were gathered in a park in the South Bronx as several speakers encouraged people to vote for Trump. We want jobs. We want fair housing. We want better schools so our children won't be accused of not being able to know what a computer is. That's in reference to Governor Hochul. She didn't even think they knew what a computer was in the black community, but also didn't even know what the word computer is. Build some brand new state-of-the-art computer labs in those schools. Make the investment into these communities. Trump will be here on the 23rd, and we hope to see a turnout. There's a 3,500 person capacity, and we're expected to see 3,500 people with an overflow. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Stand with me. Fight with me, the woman said, because I'm here for the people. We the people. It is we the people. I'm here for the children, the future of our country, for our children. I have grandchildren. I want a better America for our children. All right, we got a few things here about Trump. When we come back, though, we're going to hear from Linda Teeter from Steuben Senior Services Fund. So stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
I was an athlete when I grew up, and I always wanted to stay near athletes. What drove me to orthopedics and sports medicine in general was the need and the want to help these patients from their time of injury and helping them with surgery and through the rehab, getting them back to the field. My patients are obviously very important to me. These athletes, weekend warriors, all of them, I really want them to get back and be doing the things that they want to be doing.
Your Pioneers are back for another great season of baseball. Home opening game is Friday, May 31st at 6:30. Hilliard Corporation and Southern Tier Custom Fabricators present Fireworks Night, Friday, May 31st. Get your tickets early. Call 607-734-2690. Elmira Pioneers, a baseball tradition since 1888. Fireworks, fireworks, fireworks!
You just to get in the seat of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Not because of how easy it is to use, or because of our expert dealers. Not even because it has implements for every job. You just have to get in the seat, because breaking ground on your dream home feels pretty great.
It's an inventory clearance event at Lindsay Equipment. Get 0% financing for 84 months and $1,000 off select John Deere compact tractors.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Akam. Joining us back in the studio, Linda, thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh, absolutely. It's a joy to be here.
We've been talking a lot about Steuben Senior Services Fund, so I'm so glad you could come to the show and explain to the viewers what exactly is Steuben Senior Services Fund.
Well, it's an organization that is 24 years old.
Wow.
I'm so happy to be able to announce that. We were created to work in partnership with the Steuben County Office for the Aging that many years ago. Mm-hmm. And our main mission is to empower seniors to age at home safely with various programs. And we try to focus on some cutting edge things that perhaps aren't being done otherwise. And we do a lot of fundraising to make those kinds of things happen here in the county for our older adults. I'm supposed to use the term older adults.
Older adults. Well, and there is such a need in our community, isn't there? I was looking at some of the numbers on the website, SteubenSeniorServicesFund.org, and the numbers are kind of staggering for the need.
They really are. And who we seem to be serving most of all with our premier program, Full Circle America, are those people that are very much in need. When we look at the statistics, the poverty rates and so forth, most of our members are very low income and very much in need of services to be able to stay at home. So we're happy about that.
Well, and how has Steuben Senior Services Fund changed through the 24 years? Because when we talk about Full Circle America and you talk about being a kind of ahead of the curve on when it comes to trends and technology, it must have changed quite a bit in the last 24 years.
Well, actually it has. We started out, we thought we could build a resource for people aging at home, and we found that we had to have some real programs for people to get involved in them. So we started out in about 2009, we started getting some grants to help small rural communities develop aging in place programming. And so now we started in Pulteney. And we did a survey and found out that people were very interested in more information about how they could age at home successfully. So we developed a newsletter in Pulteney called the Pulteney Grapevine.
Okay.
Now that's been going ever since 2009. We also did a lot of outreach in terms of setting up transportation, getting people involved in home delivered meals, in-home services, all those kinds of things that in the rural communities it's harder to know that they actually exist and that they're there for them.
Right.
And so we have done a lot of that kind of activity. And it's neat because in the rural communities we tend to get engaged with what we call non-traditional partners, the libraries, the town boards, the fire departments, the churches.
Sure.
So we all become a community together addressing the needs of our older adults. And then the Pulteney project was replicated in Hammondsport, Urbana, and that has transitioned into QCA, Aging in Place.
Okay.
QKA, of course.
Yes.
And that is an extremely active group of people, again, involving community residents, churches, businesses, the school. It's really a robust program, and they do all sorts of activities and events. They have brunches. They have their own newsletter, and again, it gets them information about Office for Aging, about Steuben Senior Services Fund, and what's going on in their own little communities.
Have you found that it's difficult through the years to get the word out so people realize how much you provide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They
And
must be kind of shocked at how much you offer.
You know, when people do have an orientation, which we provide for all of our different groups, they're amazed at what's available. We've also now gone into Wayne. That was in 2015, so we've kind of made our way around Cuca Lake.
Yes.
And then we started a project actually in 2014 to cover the Cameron, Jasper, Troopsburg, Woodhull area. Got to get them in order.
That's right.
Alphabetically.
Yes.
And that project actually kind of went on hold for the last couple of years because of the flooding out in that
Yes.
area. I mean, people
horrible.
had... they sure didn't have time for us.
No.
You know, obviously. So that project is now being started up again.
Oh, good.
And one of our people that actually lives over there and works with me is heading that up. So they just had a big senior safety showcase over in Woodhull at the town hall, and they did a survey to see, okay, who's interested in seeing more programmings of this nature for our older adults.
Sure.
And so they had a lot of people that were interested in working on that and a lot of ideas of what they would like to see. So that's kind of how we've changed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, our other big thing is Full Circle America.
Yeah, let's talk about Full Circle America, because this is really interesting. You've had numerous conversations with people, and the people that want to stay in their home, they talk about the cost if they can't stay in their home. This is kind of a unique way to combat that, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It's using technology.
Yeah.
And at first, people are really resistant to that.
Scared by that. I can't blame them. Right.
And when we first started this, especially, we read Dr. Teal's book, which is we're affiliated with Dr. Teal, who was a geriatrician in Maine.
Okay.
Who is the one who conceived this whole program and wrote a book about, how can we address older people's needs.
Right.
I mean, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. They want to stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? And he came up with this idea of the technology combined with traditional aging services combined with volunteers.
Oh, wow.
And that's we've replicated that model here. And so that was back in 2015 when we read his book. And it took us a couple of years of fundraising and having him come and talk to a large group of people about how we could get that started. Then we had a planning committee, and we finally launched it officially in very late 2016, early 2017.
And how's it been going so far?
Well, again, as I said at first, people were reluctant.
Of course, yeah.
Seniors aren't going to want whatever in their home,
Right.
and they don't know how to use it. And we're finding that, especially since COVID, people are very open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Families are very open to
Yeah.
it because it helps them stay in touch.
Mm-hmm.
It helps them know that they're older adult and their family is safe.
Mm-hmm. It involves video connections, video monitoring, 24/7 call center. It really does offer a full service picture for people that want to live in their home.
It certainly does, yes.
And is the technology difficult, or do you offer training, or is it?
Well, we make it as simple as possible. Our care coordinator, Crystal, goes in, and maybe someday you can talk with her.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
But she goes into the home. She does all of the setup of all the technology, and then she programs. For example, we use Amazon Echo Shows.
Oh, okay.
And that way, people can see their loved one,
Mm-hmm.
and their loved one can see them.
Yeah.
And we make it voice activated.
Oh, that's great.
And if there's ever a problem with the technology, she goes back. She goes back and she fixes things for the folks. And she programs in anyone in the family that the older adult wishes to be in connection with.
Okay.
So, for example, I want to be able to call my daughter and just say, Alexa, call my daughter.
Right.
Alexa,
Simple as
call
that.
my son.
Yeah.
I have a grandson in Louisiana, let's say, as
Sure.
an example. I'd like to have lunch with him, so I talk with him, and we decide to sit and talk with each other over a sandwich.
Wow, isn't that amazing? It is. Technology is really helping these type of things where, we always think of technology as bad in some ways. This is such a positive aspect of technology.
It really is. It's amazing what can be done.
It's life-changing in this
It
situation.
is. It really is. And for a person who is alone by themselves, it is amazing what it can do for a person. We have, as you know, we have a new 30-second spot.
Yes,
with
it's
you.
beautiful.
Isn't it amazing,
I really like it,
though?
yeah.
And our person in the video is Marion,
Mm-hmm.
and she'll tell you, I'm 95 years old.
Yeah.
She's a retired school and community librarian.
Yeah.
I always call her the maven of the area
Yes.
because she's one of those organizers, etc., that really gets people together and makes things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she said to me lately, she says, been feeling lonely.
Yeah.
So now we've actually decided she's going to be helping us
that's great.
by making calls to other members, chatting with them, seeing how they're doing, and it could even be done with a video connection.
Isn't that amazing?
So we'll set those things up for her, and then she'll just have to take her list and say, oh, call Dorothy.
Right.
And it will call Dorothy for her, and then they'll have the connection.
Have you found when people first get involved in Full Circle America, by the end, when they finally adapt to it, that they love it? That
we have had very little of anything
Right.
except praise.
I can
People
only imagine.
really like it. Our very first person that went on the program, and we were brand new with this, and it wasn't nearly as well developed as it is now. It's changed quite a bit in the last 7 or 8 years.
Right.
She sat there in her home. I'm not going to do this.
Yes. Yeah.
And as soon as she saw Dr. Teal on the camera
Mhm.
and could talk with him,
Yeah.
and realized that he was a nice man
Right.
that she could relate to.
Right.
And then we connected her with her nieces, whom she had not seen in years.
Oh, wow.
And it was, then she started going by the TV and
Yeah.
waving and saying hi to the
Isn't that
cameras.
wonderful?
And it is. It really is.
Now, how much of both the Steuben Senior Services Fund and when we talk about Full Circle America relies on volunteers?
We use a lot of volunteers, absolutely. We've even had an MSW working with us to get her master's degree. She is considering coming back because she's gotten to know our people well enough that she wants to maintain contact
Isn't that
with them.
great?
So we're really hoping she'll come back. We have other volunteers. They're called wellness ambassadors. Most of the ones we have had have been retired nurses or even a retired nurse practitioner.
Sure.
And they do visits and phone calls and video calls and so forth just to see how people are doing. So, yes, that connection is huge. We also have a huge volunteer base in our board of directors.
Okay.
We have 12 people who work very hard for our program. They do a lot of fundraising for us. They help review grants. So I consider them our volunteers as well. as board members, because they are truly helping us to fulfill our mission.
And I want to say you can donate online, SteubenSeniorServicesFund.org, but also there's a fun event coming up. Let's talk about this, Bubbly and Brunch on July 28th. Now, what is this?
Oh, well, this is an annual event. This will be our 4th year we've had it. We took a little break during COVID.
Of course.
Yeah. So this is our 3rd year in a row of having this event. We have Timberstone Restaurant. Kudos to them, because they're giving us the same price for the food as they did last year, which I think is really remarkable. He's a very generous man. So we'll have a wonderful brunch served by them. The Pleasant Valley Wine Visitor Center is hosting us and providing liquid refreshments.
Yeah, the bubbly.
Indigenous to the area that we're in. We have a huge silent auction, and all of those items are art pieces or gift baskets. These are all donated by local businesses. The support is really tremendous, and it's extremely helpful to us to meet our budget for the year.
Now, what if someone wants to donate, or they just want to attend the Bubbly and Brunch on July 28th? What should they do?
Well, they should contact Steuben Senior Services Fund, and the phone number. I don't know if you're running the phone number or will, or
I can. I can put that up on the bottom of the screen. It is 607-664-2298, and you can find out more at SteubenSeniorServicesFund.org. So just to kind of full circle for those who maybe are just joining us, who specifically is this for when we talk about Steuben Senior Services Fund and Full Circle America?
We're really reaching out to older adults who want to stay in their homes, do not want to have to move from there, want to stay with their near their loved ones, their neighbors, their friends, and this keeps them at home safely with a circle of care around them to be sure that they're not lonely. And it really, what we find is that it improves their wellness. They're healthier because they're connected to people. They see people. We just went into one home, talked to this lady. She said last year she had seen no one for 3 months at her home. And we set up home delivered meals for her, so she gets a meal every day. We set up the cameras to make sure she's safe. Recently, we found out that she had smoke in her home. We went to visit, and there was smoke. And she didn't realize something was smoking and something was wrong. And so we made sure that she got smoke detectors, and we got her a Lifeline bracelet to keep her safer, etc. So we're working very hard just to keep people safe and connected with others.
And it must be so rewarding when you see how this does change people's lives from day one, and just probably a week later you'll see the difference.
When a person says to you, "I haven't looked in another person's eyes in months,"
it's heartbreaking.
It is. And to be able to look in someone's eyes and to know that even if it's a brief visit, even a meal being delivered briefly, it's so critical. And in all of this, I want to give a shout out to the United Way as well. Of course,
yes.
Because they just had their Senior Supports Fund award ceremony. And for the 3rd year in a row, they funded us to help with this program.
That's wonderful.
And so a shout out to the United Way.
Well, they recognize the importance and how much this means for our community in general. It's an amazing organization. We've been talking about Steuben Senior Services Fund. Find out more at SteubenSeniorServicesFund.org. Thanks so much for doing it. You want to do it again soon?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Right. How about tomorrow?
All right. Why not?
We'll be right
Thanks,
back.
Frank.
Of course, anytime. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Kuntz Sitton's been courting. Hey, did you know that Kuntz has been in business since 1955? Wow, that's going on 70 years. And did you know that Kuntz is still family owned and operated? Really? That's 3 generations. Way to go, Steve. Did you also know that their salespeople are non-commissioned and they offer delivery and financing? That's awesome. So why do they want you to shop and compare then? Because they are confident that you won't find a better deal.
Guaranteed.
Coon Sit and Sleep in Corning.
Shop and compare.
I'm Marian Burt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
This is the make or break moment.
Oh my goodness!
Not just for the day, but for the years to come. This is where a race isn't just about the race. It's about the doors it can open.
That kid is amazing.
The number of fans wearing your number. This is the chance to carve your name into the history books. This is the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
It's a season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
Our beautiful view of Mark Street almost looks like a painting this morning, doesn't it? Welcome back to Frankly Speaking. Thank you again to Linda Teeter for being our guest on the program, and thank you to Steuben's Senior Services Fund for sponsoring our interview sections. By the way, we've had a couple of waves, so I forgot a couple comments from viewers. Number 1, you should have a best of show on Sundays. I like that idea. We've talked about it a little bit in the past. I'll have to get the wheels moving on that. Another comment, vote no, May 21st. Yes, tomorrow is the school vote. School tax up 4.97%. They are over the tax cap. Yes, significantly over the tax cap. 67% for pay and benefits of the budget. It's time to say no. Spread the word. So tomorrow is the vote, and we'll remind you tomorrow as well to get out and vote. This just in. Now, we talked about the Iranian president dying in that helicopter crash. On a different front here, this is breaking that I just saw in the New York Post during that interview. The International Criminal Court announced today that it is seeking arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar on war crime charges. The charges are tied to the deadly October 7th terror attack on Israel on the subsequent war in Gaza. The court's chief prosecutor, Karim Khan, said in a statement. Warrants are also being sought for Israel's defense minister, Gallant, and 2 top Hamas leaders. The charges against the Hamas terror chief include extermination, murder, torture, rape, and taking hostages, all as war crimes and crimes against humanity. Israel is accused of, quote, willful killing, starvation of civilians as a method of warfare, and willfully causing great suffering. My office submits that the war crimes alleged in these applications were committed in the context of an international armed conflict between Israel and Palestine and a non-international armed conflict between Israel and Hamas, together with other Palestinian armed groups running in parallel, the prosecutor said. The ICC, which is based in The Hague in the Netherlands, can charge individuals with war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. Israel isn't a member of the ICC and disputes its jurisdiction. A panel of ICC judges will now weigh the prosecutor's application for the warrant. Israel, like all states, has a right to take action to defend its population. That right, however, does not absolve Israel or any state of its obligation to comply with international humanitarian law. Notwithstanding any military goals they may have, the means Israel chose to achieve them in Gaza, namely intentionally causing death, starvation, great suffering, and serious injury to body or health of the civilian population, are criminal. All right. Now, New York versus Trump is to resume today as the cross-examination will continue with Michael Cohen. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we come back. I've got to take another short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Our water's better tasting. It's better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Put adventure and accomplishment firmly in your hands with the Polaris Sportsman lineup. Get the most out of every day, pull off the toughest hauls, and keep charging on.
Ithaca Recreation Sports, Route 13 in Newfield. Get outside and ride.
Getting real video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
Very best of luck to all three of you.
Fox Monday, it's winner take all. No one can afford to make a mistake here. In the grand finale.
Congratulations goes to...
Bring it home.
Tonight. And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. A couple comments from viewers. Absolutely. Vote no, said one viewer out there in regards to the school budget, the Corning Paid Post school vote tomorrow. Next comment from Ken. Frank, isn't it interesting that the Dems won't release a video of the Hur investigation into Biden's illegal having and holding of top secret documents? If they really release a full transcript of the testimony, what reason could they have for not releasing the video? That's a $1 million question. Showing again that it must have been as bad as Hur suggested is the only thing that I can think of. Otherwise, there's no reason not to release that. To show the world that there is no cognitive issues. So that's a very good point. One quick comment I wanted to mention, and I don't want to forget this before the program's over. Congressman Langworthy has secured significant priorities for Western New York and the Southern Tier in the Farm Bill text. What the congressman said about the Farm Bill, here we go. I'm proud to have fought to ensure that this year's Farm Bill will reflect the needs of rural communities in Western New York and the Southern Tier. This Farm Bill is a result of the shared wisdom and collaboration with our hardworking farmers and producers and will leave a major impact on our region by allowing opportunities for local agriculture to grow and supporting the future success of rural economies. I want to thank Chairman Thompson for allowing New York's 23rd district to stamp our priorities on this legislation, and for his steadfast leadership in delivering a strong farm bill for the American people. It's passed roughly every 5 years, if you're not familiar with this. And it sets national agricultural, nutrition, conservation, and forestry policies. It includes provisions for crop subsidies, rural development, conservation, nutrition assistance programs like SNAP, and more. Some of the things that were introduced by Langworthy, sponsored in this legislation, the Dairy Pricing Opportunity Act to authorize mandatory report of cost and yield information from dairy processors, creating access to rural employment and education for resilience and success, making agricultural products locally essential, and rural telehealth and education enhancements, and supporting all producers, requiring the USDA to consult with maple syrup producers on where to focus annual research and education priorities under the ACER Access and Development Program. There you go. A little wonky, but I thought you would be interested. I know we have some farmers that watch the show, and we appreciate everybody who watches the show. So Trump's hush money trial nears its end. Here's the key evidence and questions juror will weigh. Is Michael Cohen, I know I said that weird, credible? To what extent was Trump involved? Do these checks prove Trump paid off Stormy Daniels? These are some of the questions the jury is going to have to weigh over. Did Trump have the intent to hide damaging scandal from voters? Again, isn't this what all campaigns throughout history have done? Anything that could be a quote-unquote scandal, try to keep that out of the limelight? What about Cohen's secret recording of a conversation with Trump? So those are all the questions, according to the New York Post, that jurors will ask. But as the Post editorial board says, it proves it was always a witch hunt. With the prosecution winding down in Donald Trump's Manhattan case, we have to ask, in the immortal words of Peggy Lee, is that all there is? It's become utterly apparent, if it wasn't already, that the key element of any prosecution is missing here, namely a crime. Yes, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg developed a totally novel legal theory by which 34 misdemeanor counts of business records falsification, though past the statute of limitations, could be converted into felony charges because they were allegedly in the service of covering up another crime. But Bragg's team forgot to offer any evidence that the records were falsified, or to specify that the other crime might be, what that might be, let alone to prove it. His prosecutors have instead resorted to stunts of dubious constitutionality and legal wordplay and their effort to pretend that Trump's perfectly legal non-disclosure agreement, the vaunted hush money so beloved by the lefty media, with Stormy Daniels somehow broke the law. And the mysterious pseudo crime at the heart of this case is, even in the vague and misty contours we've been submitted to glimpse, total nonsense. It demands Bragg enforce federal election law he has no authority to prosecute and relies on a totally strained reading of that law to boot. Since the eyes of America were always going to be glued to the trial, you'd expect the prosecution to have had some cachet of damning evidence and hereto non-public evidence ready to unload against the former president. But what they actually had is Michael Cohen. Yes, the prosecution is utterly reliant on the testimony of a convicted felon and embittered ex-Trump staffer who couldn't be trusted to deliver a weather report. Cohen's own former attorney blew him up last week in front of Congress as having told numerous lies under oath in the Bragg trial, which Costello also testified to during Trump's grand jury. Actually, the first grand jury didn't indict, so Bragg went to a second one. This was never a trial, in other words. From the start, Bragg's case was nothing more than a political witch hunt. If the judge doesn't toss the case as soon as the prosecution rests, we hope even the deep blue New York City jury will see that, because a victory here means you or anyone else whose politics Bragg doesn't like could be next. And yeah, so this idea of, well, no, this is a one and done thing. Don't worry, it's just about Trump, which is pretty much essentially what they're admitting. Don't think that this is not the new precedent. It's a very scary precedent that they have set. We've got to take our last break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention Twin Tier homeowners. Are you tired of paying too much for your energy bills? It's time you discover Koala Insulation of the Southern Tier, a premier insulation contractor. The professionals at Koala Insulation can give you a free, no-obligation insulation evaluation. It's one of the best home improvement investments you can make. Give us a call at 607-463-0616.
Discover Koala Insulation of Southern Tier. We are fully insured. Visit koalainsulation.com and find us near you.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
And we are back. We got a comment from a viewer here in reference to tomorrow's school vote in Corning. Don't complain if you can't even get out to vote and try to make a difference. We don't make the effort, we can. If we don't make the effort, we can expect more of the same. I, for one, don't think we are getting what we pay for and haven't for years. So thank you for that comment. Rex Smith says, no, Trump's prosecution isn't harming American justice. And just to show that he's not biased, this is the trade-off that Donald Trump's Republican Party apparently is willing to make in exchange for dutiful conformity to its leaders' claims of victimhood. It is a sacrifice of honest patriotism for partisan conformity. If that's not the mark of true corruption, I can't imagine what is. So this man doesn't have partisan conformity. Nope. It's got to be Trump and that dangerous MAGA. 4 big questions as Senator Bob Menendez's corruption trial enters its second week. Can prosecutors connect all the many far-flung dots? How hard does the defense lean on Nadine Menendez? I know she's having some health issues. What will the Menendez team admit, and what will they contest? And will Republicans try to seize on this at all? Always, hey, remember Rubio? I know I'm running fast here. We're almost out of time. Rubio backs Trump's deportation plan, reversing his previous statements. He's calling it an invasion of the country. Now, if you're not familiar, Rubio has been, it's been suggested, has been in the short list for VP. So now changing to be a little bit more in line with Trump. Kind of interesting here. What did you think about Rubio? And we'll probably have to get to your comments at the beginning of tomorrow's show. That was a name that I was kind of surprised was being thrown around for VP. I didn't really think, and I could be wrong on this, I didn't really think they were all that close, him and Trump. But, yeah, you know, Marco Rubio has wanted to be president, so why not VP? Yes, he said on Meet the Press, we cannot absorb 25, 30 million people who enter the country illegally. They're here illegally. What country on earth could tolerate that? Speaking of that, Border Patrol agents, if you're interested, there's an article at the New York Post. Border Patrol agents reveal how easily terrorists and killers get into the United States despite being screened. The border enforcers are sounding the alarm, saying that they do not get enough time to effectively screen people before they are ordered to let them go, usually within 3 days. Disorganized and uncooperative foreign governments with poor record keeping also do not help, allowing a Colombia murderer, Somali terrorist, and an Afghan on the terror watch list to run free inside the country. It's a catch and release operation, so they bring in busloads of people, they fingerprint them and run them through a system, and initially, a lot of times, nothing comes back for these people. The turnover is insane. It's less than 72 hours. Obviously, something needs to be done. I believe, oh yes, a big breaking story. If you're just joining us, Iranian President Razi, the Butcher of Tehran, is killed in a helicopter crash in that remote region. His body found, the way I understand it, early this morning. Well, that does it for us today. That is unbelievable. Thank you for all the comments. It's not too late. You can comment at any time, 24/7. I'll try to read some of the ones that we missed on tomorrow's broadcast, but I think we got everything covered as of right now. You see the number on the bottom of your screen, 607-358-3131, and I think I missed a few waves along the way, too. So thank you to everybody who reached out. Thank you to Linda Teeter from Steuben Senior Services Fund. I'm glad she could be on the program this morning. I hope that you have a good day and that you'll join us tomorrow morning, starting at 6 a.m. Yes, if you're new to it, 2 hours. So join us tomorrow, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, have a great day. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. I look forward to it already.
The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now.